Hey everybody. With my stories and the posts that I did in the last weekend guiding, I got a lot of people asking me questions about the water clarity, and I think there's a lot of misinformation out there. So I wanted to hop on here and make a video about what's causing it and when I expect it to change and how it's changing the fishing. So it's not that unusual. This happens every couple of years. They'll do some work on the power generators on the dam. It happens to most tailwaters. So the river usually comes out of the power generator. So when the water comes out of the lake, it comes out of the power generators, which are on the right hand side of the spillway, and they use that to generate electricity to run the turbines. And the water comes out super low. You're talking like over 100 feet deep is where they pull the water from. So that's one of the reasons why the San Juan is such a good fishery, because it comes out so clear and so cold, because that water on the bottom hasn't been disturbed really. So the power generators usually pull that clean, cold, clear water and from real deep, and every now and then they have to work on those generators, so they'll shut them off and they will run water from the 4x4. And I'll show a picture about where the 4x4 is, but basically it's the little box that's in the middle of the spillway. So underneath the spillway never gets current. It doesn't run but maybe once every couple of years for a couple of days. So you can imagine that at the bottom of the dam, at the base of the dam, is all this silt and muck and algae and stuff that's like pond water that's built up over years and years and months of having no flow. It's stagnant kind of pond water. And all of a sudden, when they switch over to the 4x4, which is in the middle of the dam, it pushes all that water into that pond water and stirs up a bunch of stuff. So temporarily, it affects the color of the water clarity like crazy, but what it also does is it kind of takes all that junk, spreads it around, and then distributes it through the upper river. So in the beginning, the water clarity is real bad. It's muddy. It kind of looks like the Rio Grande or the Chamablo Abiquiu when it's running muddy. The visibility was like 6 inches when it got worse, and it shut the fish down pretty big time. I mean, part of it is that people derive so much of their confidence from fishing on the Juan, from being able to see the fish. And now that you can't see the fish, people will kind of panic and you don't fish as hard. You don't have as much confidence. So there's that element to it. But it also just, the fish can't see as well. They literally don't have as much viewpoint as they did before when the water was clear. So they're not going to move for your flies. So it shut the fishing down. It made the fishing tough. And then one another problem that's compounding it is that the water is in runoff. It's starting from the Piedra, the Florida, the Pine, and the San Juan. Those rivers are starting to run into Navajo with runoff water, and it's snowmelt. It's real cold. So you can imagine that colder water is real dense. It's staying down low. And then as it pours into the lake, it kind of follows that original river channel through the valley, and then some of it will pour out of the dam. And that makes the water temperature of the river colder than normal. And when we talk about colder than normal, the San Juan's usually 42.5 degrees consistently, 365.5 days out of the year. You know, it's super consistent. That's why it's such a good fishery. When that runoff starts to pour into the lake, especially when the lake is as low as it is now, it's probably 55 feet below full pool, maybe 60 feet below full pool. So as that water pours in and it follows the river channel and pours out of the dam, it's going to lower the water temp of the river, and that's going to also put the fish down. So there are a bunch of different things that combine to make the fishing tougher. It wasn't just the clarity. It wasn't just one thing. It was kind of like a combination of things. It should change. It's already started to change in the last couple of days for the better. The clarity will get better. They've switched back to the power generator. So what's left as far as the muddy water is just the residue that was spread on the river. And hopefully we'll get some higher flows that will kind of blow some of that stuff out. I don't expect to get like super high flows, because the way the San Juan flow is generated is it's really managed for the NAPI project, for the Pueblo, the Navajo reservation that is downriver, but it's also managed for endangered species. So they have this target flow that's supposed to run on the San Juan, the lower San Juan, after the Animas pours in. So as long as the Animas is high, you can bet that the San Juan's going to be lower, vice versa. As the Animas drops, they'll raise the San Juan so they can have that target flow as it goes through the critical habitat for the endangered species fish. And so I don't expect us to get super high flow. It's going to take a lot of water to bring the lake up. So I don't know if we're going to get a spring flush. I would imagine we'd get higher flows as they want to fill up Lake Powell so that they can do more power generating there. So until then, the water clarity from the 4x4 will sort of settle down, and the runoff, as the lake comes up, the fish will get used to the river being colder and more murky, and it's been off color since like November anyway. So I don't think it's going to be something that's going to be the buy all end all, panic, anything to freak out about. It happens all the time, and the big thing is that the fish are eating little tiny midges, so they can't afford to stop eating for very long. So while these first couple of weeks were pretty brutal, it's not like it's the end of the world. If you have a chance to change your trip in that first couple of weeks, that we're already almost past, it was a good thing. I had to move some of my trips around if they could. If you can't, I would still come. There are other places to fish around the San Juan, but mostly the San Juan is still going to fish pretty well, and it should clear up. I know there are people who have said that it's going to last all summer long and it's not going to be a good guide year, and I would tell you straight up if that was going to be the case, because I always am honest about the fishing conditions and what to expect, but couldn't be furthest from the truth. I mean, the lake is huge. It's 30 miles long. It'll stabilize. The water in the lake will stabilize. That means the water in the river is going to stabilize, and the water will get clear, and the fish will go back to eating real bugs. I mean, you got to remember that it's been a super cold springtime, winter time into springtime, unusually cold, just like the rest of the country. So where we would have Baetis hatches out coming off like crazy right now, and midge hatches, they haven't been all that good yet. So the fish aren't on bugs. So this is kind of, if all the conditions were ideal and we didn't have to worry about all these things, fishing would still be a little bit tough because of the way the weather has been. So expect it to change. Good things are coming. Expect it to change in the next, couple of weeks, and to the clarity to get better. It's not going to get totally better. It's still going to be off color. There's still going to be that runoff pouring into the lake. The lake itself is even a little bit muddy, but it's going to be a lot better than it was, and especially the fish will be used to it. These fish are real finicky. They get used to certain conditions 365.5 days out of the year. The same thing all the time. Same bugs, same hatches. You can set your watch to it. And anytime something like this happens, it sort of freaks them out and they go off the feed for a little bit, but they can't afford to go off the feed for very long. The fish don't know that it's windy or that the water is that off color, all these things that we tend to worry about, The fish have to eat still, and that means that you'll have opportunities to catch them as fly fishers. So good news, more good stuff to come. Besides, what else are you going to do? If you don't hit still water, most of the rivers are going to be blown out like crazy for the next 3 months probably. So come on down to the San Juan. If you have any questions, like up-to-date information, let me know. You can DM me or text me, but yeah, the conditions are going to get a lot better.